Hey guys, Karalynn Cromeens. Welcome back to the Quick Getting Screwed podcast. We're still at World of Concrete, and today I have another great guest, James Baty, with the Concrete Foundation Association. Hey James, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you ended up where you are at?
Wow, the cliff notes. So I'm an architect by education. Went to work for a manufacturing company in the concrete industry and never left it.
Really?
Never really. I practice architecture on the side, but I fell in love with the concrete industry and teaching contractors.
Really?
So that's really got me started. And then 20 years ago, I got the invitation to join an association leadership, and that's what I do. Is I manage associations, which is really just a network of people, which gives me the entry into certifying them, educating them, serving them. My mantra is, how can I help?
Really? That's awesome. That's amazing. I think we need more thought leaders like that in the industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting space because there's trepidation to it. Do you know enough to be able to help? The other mantra that I have is it's not what you know, it's who you know.
True. And
so the key to being an association executive is knowing where can you send them to get the information that they need.
Absolutely.
Because it's not going to be me all the time.
No, absolutely. And it takes all of us. Like training's a little piece, legal's a little piece, sales a little piece,
That's right.
Safety. It takes so much, so many pieces. So tell me a little bit about the Concrete Foundation Association, what your mission is and how you're doing it.
Yeah, that's really good. Again, to unpack that, we don't have that at the time in the podcast. Started in 1974, literally contractors that knew about each other through some manufacturing relationships. They said, would it be cool if we could get together and talk?
Yeah.
And so they started getting together to talk, and then somebody said, we kind of seem like an organization. Shouldn't we be an organization? So they formed, and they never looked back. And so now, kind of the mission is to make better businesses.
Okay.
We don't teach you necessarily how to do construction.
Gotcha.
You can do that in a lot of different ways. In fact, most of these guys are either spun off from a business that they worked for where they learned how to build, or they inherited the family business or took over the family business, right? So
it's in their blood, actually.
That's right, literally and figuratively. So I don't teach you how to do concrete, I teach you how to do better concrete. But what we do is we work as a network to teach you to become a better business and to avoid those bad steps that you can make.
Yeah. So what are some of the classes that you teach, or what do you focus on to help them run a better business?
Oh my gosh, I've been asked to teach everything. So I teach concrete basics. So first of all, I love concrete. It's the second widely most used material in the world.
Yeah.
I actually think it's the first because you can't count water. It's in everything. But concrete's out there, right? So I teach concrete, the principles of concrete. Why does concrete become concrete? I teach then performance and behavior of concrete. I teach construction practice. I teach energy performance. I do a lot of teaching of sustainability now.
Really?
It's important to understand where we're going in our industry for the future. How are we going to be carbon neutral? And so I teach that specifically to this lane that I live in.
Gotcha. So you bring up an interesting question. How is concrete going to get carbon neutral?
Well, we've already made some enormous strides. So when we say, how is concrete going to be more sustainable? The mistake there is assuming that concrete is not sustainable anyway. Actually, concrete is the most sustainable side of our industry. What is not sustainable is cement.
Gotcha.
Right? So if I'm in my church, if I'm in my community, and somebody says, "Hey, that cement sidewalk's cracking," no, it's not. The concrete sidewalk is cracking, right? So concrete is the product, is the element, it's the structure that we create. Cement's the powder that makes it work.
Gotcha.
And cement is high in embodied energy, high in embodied carbon dioxide emission. The cement industry has made some huge strides to improve that, made it cleaner, made it better, made it more efficient, used alternative energies to produce it. And now we're looking into the future. What can we use to further augment cement, change cement, maybe even replace cement? And so when we change the cement component, we're instantly more sustainable, and we will get to carbon neutrality.
Is it going to still hold up the same strength that it's always had?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, strength is relative.
Yes.
So you say you want strength for what? You want strength on the front end, strength on the back end, strength on long term? And so that's where the industry lives right now, is we're trying to be more performance based. What do you actually need? And then let me help you give that.
Gotcha. And so I think I remember this correctly, that there was a bunch of regulations that is going to change the way concrete's being made.
Yeah.
What, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, and so again, it's carbon neutrality.
Okay.
And so globally, we are committed. We're trying to commit. Some countries maybe don't participate as well, but we're trying to eliminate the excessive carbon dioxide in the air at the current emission rate by 2040.
Okay.
And truly, as a globe, be carbon neutral, if not carbon negative. In order to get there, we have to eliminate the excessive use of the energy products, the use of coal, our burning techniques, our refinement practices that really release carbon dioxide.
Gotcha.
That's the regulatory steps that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then it's more use, because I said concrete's sustainable.
Yeah.
Why is concrete sustainable? Because it lasts forever. And so if we produce less carbon intensive concrete on the front end, and then we take into consideration its long-term durability, its long-term sustainability and performance properties, it's going to accomplish our goals.
Gotcha.
Use more of it,
Yeah.
gets even better.
Really? So, but you said something about like replacing concrete. What does that look like?
Well, I don't know yet. Actually, I have my ideas.
Okay.
So there's a lot of conversation about volcanic ashes and about residual materials that are byproducts from other manufacturing processes, and we're already using those. We're supplementing cement use that way. It's not completely successful in terms of ultimate strength, performance, finishability, and so I actually know that there's research out there, and we're starting to see some products that are being brought about organically. Can we grow our next cement?
Really?
And
That's
so
interesting.
I often when I teach my classes, I'll say it's not rocket science. It's rock science, right? But now I'm starting to see that rock science is quickly becoming rocket science, because it really is intriguing to see what do we not know now that's going to be about the way we do things in 10 to 15 years.
I agree. So you've seen the use of technology throughout the years. How do you think technology has helped the concrete industry?
Technology is everything. And so our biggest challenge right now is labor.
Yeah.
Right? Everything that contractors talk about is, where's my labor? Who will be my labor? How can I find the next workers? So labor's the biggest problem. What's going to solve that, as much as finding workers that actually want to work, is how do we make them more efficient with the technology that we're... So in the 30 years that I've been doing concrete, technology innovations, concrete pumps, finishing, power finishing materials, those are things. Layout equipment, robotics. Now we see buildings being demolished with robots, that you don't even put a person on a floor tearing down a building. You send a robot up there and the robot breaks down the building. So I don't know right now. I mean, we're staring across the hall right now and there's a big pink bar sign, right?
Yeah.
Technology is in everything. The materials that we use today have no characteristics like the materials that we used 50 years ago, or the systems that we use. They're changing. What changed every 5 years previously now is changing every 5 months. It's exciting. I love technology. I mean, I could come up with a list, but you don't have the time for that.
Well, a couple of things there. So you developed software for the industry, right?
Yes, I have. I have participated in software. A lot of that was early on. My first 10 years, I was really invested in energy.
Okay.
Proving energy performance of concrete buildings. And so I developed some software that helped kind of migrate what the energy codes were requiring into predictability for the contractors and the designers.
Gotcha.
So spreadsheet based. So it's numbers, ones and zeros, and a lot of crazy things.
That's all the important stuff for technology and how we get here. Okay, then you brought up another interesting point: the labor force.
Yeah.
What are some ideas and thoughts you have on how to improve that, or what can we do?
So what we're about is education.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can no longer just throw workforce hours at projects.
Okay.
We don't have access to the labor force that desires to work for a low rate pay, right?
Gotcha.
So we have to educate, we have to career advance our workforce, and then we empower them to work for higher wages because we're proving their value, we're making them work more efficient. So instead of volume for low dollars, we're able to pay more to work quality, work smarter, work leaner, work meaner. And I think that's a lot of that workforce development. The other thing that does is that it empowers thinking.
Okay.
Where we've gone wrong in the past in our workforce is that we've not empowered our workers to think about what they're doing,
Process everything.
to process, to understand why is it that I do that? More importantly, why is it that I should do that safely? Why should I care how I do it? And that's what I think what educating today's workforce is about, is empowering them to be smarter, better workers and actually do the work that you hope that they'll do for you.
And some more training programs, things like
Very
that,
much
and,
so.
and investment in your in the industry.
It does, and part of that is teaching owners also to understand that they need to do that. Because, we're in a transition zone. We're still in that generational transition from baby boomers to Gen X. And that comes with a challenge because baby boomers don't necessarily understand the value of education. Some do, some don't.
No, it's different.
And really even so then Gen X, we grew up under the boomers, and it's hard for us to appreciate
No, I agree.
the value of
I
education.
agree. Well, and for us, like for me, I think for the boomers, our driving force was dollars.
Yeah.
And this new generation is not. It's education.
They don't care about
Quality
it.
of
Well,
life.
I don't say nobody doesn't care
I
about
know,
those,
but-
right? You're absolutely right. It's about performance. It's about accomplishments. It's about achievement, and it's about service.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. There's a heavy service about doing things right because it's right to do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've seen that over and over. And then, I had a coach on earlier about finding the why of the company and the vision of the company.
Yep.
Do you guys help with that too?
We do. Yeah. So not just finding your why, defining your why, and then understanding that if your why is not big enough, your excuse will be.
What
Right?
do you mean?
So I think you have to understand what your target is and being bold enough to vision how large that can be, because then when you get on the other side, and if you're attacking yourself, you're going after a vision that is a small incremental step vision, and you get there and you're like, well, that didn't really change anything.
So you're like, have a big one.
Your why wasn't big
Yeah,
enough.
exactly.
Right. So be bold enough. There's a book that I've read recently that I just dearly love. It's Worth Doing Wrong.
Okay.
Arnie Malham is the author of that, and I think it's so important to think about not being afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes are so much more important in life to learn from than doing something successfully.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, if you do something successfully from a targeted vision, you probably weren't big enough in what your vision was.
Exactly. And you learn so much from falling down and having to
Oh
get
my
back
gosh,
up.
yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you think that COVID has changed the industry, and what do you think like 23 looks like?
Oh, awesome question. I think COVID has taught us a can-do attitude. So I think COVID brought about some ideologies about how we can work smarter, that we knew was out there, but we were afraid to engage in.
Yeah.
Right? We were forced into, you hear a lot about Zoom fatigue. I don't buy into it. I believe that we really appreciate the fact that we can connect more regularly without investing our travel time and our in-between time and the risk associated with that travel.
Oh, absolutely.
And that engagement. So I think that's been really important to us. I think COVID taught us to be also more efficient within ourselves, to not necessarily just ship stuff off and hope somebody would accomplish it, but really to be more engaged in what we're doing. And I think it taught us also how to lean into each other and support our individual strengths more corporately.
I agree. It's been, it's like looking back, the new normal, but I don't even remember what it was
I
like.
love that phrase. I love that phrase, a new normal. What is that, right?
Well, it's just normal now, right?
Right, yeah.
We've been in it long enough. It's just normal. It is
That's right.
whatever it is.
I've been living a new normal for 30 years.
Exactly. Before it was trending. No,
Yeah, that's
actually.
right. Yeah, there was no hashtag in front of it.
No, exactly.
Right.
Now it just is. All right. So, what is the best advice you've been given from a mentor in the industry?
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna throw a curveball here. And I'm gonna say it wasn't really a mentor. So the best advice that I've ever been given, and I suppose you could call her my mentor. My mom told me this. So in life, and I continue to live this life of just building those stacks. It's so easy to build all of this to-do list, and then the to-do list becomes a mountain that sits on your shoulders, and you end up asking yourself, how am I ever going to accomplish that? My mom always kept reminding me, just take that top one off the list. Start at the top of the pile, accomplish that.
Yeah.
If you accomplish that, you've taught yourself. So you've taught yourself that you can do. First of all, you've eliminated one of those things on that mountain, and you've set up that pattern of success that desires you to drive to the next one down. It's kind of like the admiral that said the first thing you can do, the best thing you can do every morning is to make your bed. Make your bed. You've already achieved something that most people won't achieve that in that day.
Absolutely.
Now I don't follow that. I don't make my bed every morning. But I do really take off that top thing on the pile, and I'm not going to go to the second thing until I know that first thing's accomplished. My wife tells me I'm a horrible multitasker. I don't know that I believe her, but I do really try to intentionally attack that top
No,
thing.
and I think studies have shown that you can't really successfully multitask. You can kind of do both things like 20% well, but not,
Right.
not all of it.
Yeah, I got enough ego in me that I still want to find that research that supports the alternative to that, the opposite of that. But okay, I agree with you.
It just isn't. As a woman, I try to multitask all the time, and usually I'm missing what somebody else is saying because I'm trying to.
You're just delaying results if you multitask.
Exactly, because it's better to focus. What is that? Essentialism, a focus on one thing, all your energy in one thing.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right. Do you have any other advice or any tips for our listeners in the construction industry?
Oh my! I have so many. I have so many things. So the biggest risk that I see today, and I think it is also a particularly generational, a younger generational risk, is to rely on self too much.
Okay.
I think that our social media, I think our access to information has pulled us inward so much that we're afraid to network.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to sell our association in this, but as an executive director for an association, the highest value that I've perceived in life is the networking with others.
Yeah.
And so my constant encouragement to the industry is find people that you can be challenged with, find people that you can be networked to, find people that you can walk life with.
Gotcha.
I think it continues to be the most important characteristic of cultural tendencies and the biggest misstep in cultural practice.
Yeah, I agree. That's some great advice. So if people want to find out more about your association or about you, where should they go?
CFAconcretepros.org. You can get everything you need to know there.
Awesome. We'll put it in the show notes too.
All right.
Thank you so very, very much for taking the time.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Anytime you want me back, I'll be happy to
absolutely.
do it.
Well, definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey guys, this is Karalynn Cromeens. Thank you for listening to an episode of the Quit Getting Screwed podcast from the world of concrete. Hey guys, if you need help, liens, collections, contracts, we do it all. We do it in all 50 states for a flat fee and a predictable time frame. If you want to know more, reach out to us on our website, thecromeanslawfirm.com, which is in the show notes. Thanks.